Welcome to this year's experimental residence video presentation. We hope you'll enjoy it. We're living in unprecedented times in which the people of Fleet have responded extraordinarily well.
From online shopping and banking to staying in touch with family and chatting with friends, one thing is sure, our lives are changing. Some of these changes will be short-term as we recover from the pandemic, but some will be permanent.
To demonstrate the changes that this last year has brought, this video will focus on three of the most important and significant. Firstly, and undoubtedly the most important change, the impact of COVID on all our lives. Secondly, now we're emerging from the pandemic, the changes that we will be going through as we recover. The third change that has impacted Fleet, and this will be for the longer term, is the impact of all the new development and the effect it is having on our neighbourhood and our town. So, this sets out the direction of this presentation. As you see, its format is new to us, but we're learning fast and we hope you will enjoy. This year particularly, your feedback is important to us. So at the end, we will lay out the details of how you can give us your feedback. We really do want to hear from you.
So let's get started. Janet Stanton, our town clerk, will show us examples of how our community has come together over the last year to respond to the biggest change of them all, COVID-19. Although Fleet has not suffered as much as very many other towns, we have lost local people, and our hearts go out to our friends and their families. We can be justly proud of the hundreds of local volunteers who have responded during these difficult times. One example close to home is the use of the Harlington as a critical vaccination centre. Paul Inchcombe will talk about the increased importance of our local green spaces and how they've been valued and used by us during this past year. Sue Tilley will take us through the changes to our high street and to our businesses. She'll also touch on the proposals for development of the civic quarter area. Finally, we will talk about the long-term changes that new developments mean to our area and the new families that are moving into our community. But let's start with the most overwhelming change we've all seen, coronavirus.
COVID, it's a word that we all wish had never entered our vocabulary. Over the past 12 months, Fleet residents have felt the impact of the virus in so many different ways. It has certainly changed our lives in every way imaginable. But my goodness, how the residents of Fleet have responded. Sue Vincent is part of Heart Voluntary Action, or HVA as many of us know it, and has been involved in recruiting many volunteers.
The community have been amazing. We couldn't have asked for more. Prior to COVID, HVA already played a pivotal role in Heart's voluntary community. Therefore, we had established links with our voluntary groups and their volunteers, especially the fabulous Fleet Lions and Heart Food Bank, who I have partnered from day one. This gave us time to onboard literally hundreds of volunteers who also wanted to help. I can remember opening my email account on one day to hundreds of offers of help. All in all, we have been blown away. The UK has seen the largest mobilisation of volunteers since the Second World War, and Heart has proved no exception. We could not have done it with those other groups not supporting us, and we have numerous groups across the whole district, from Hartley, Witney to Hook to Odium, Yateley. The whole area has been outstanding. They are still here 14 months later. They will never, ever let this PCN, this primary care network, down. They want to do a job, and the aim is just to get everybody vaccinated.
One of those volunteers who has really supported the community is Sammy Johnson.
We got the team together through obviously the power of Facebook. Myself and my friend just literally put word of mouth out, and literally we were inundated with requests. Volunteers were messaging left, right, centre, and within sort of 24, 48 hours, the power of Facebook created the team. We understand not every vulnerable person's on Facebook, has a smartphone, so we literally went round to every single house in Fleet and we delivered leaflets, and then we just literally became a massive COVID response group.
Together with volunteers like Sammy, our local charities have also given tremendous support.
When the vaccine rollout started, we got alerted and we were asked to try and pull volunteers in at short notice to support the local vaccine centres. And the response from the volunteers has been fantastic. It really has. I spent one weekend apologising for people that they couldn't get them to do any voluntary work. So it has been wonderful, but it's been a tough period for everybody. And one area that we found was suffering were young children having to work from home. They didn't have the right equipment. So one of our early projects was an IT refurbishment project, and that came to the fore. We've now delivered 1,500 laptops locally to people.
The Harlington has played a major part as a local vaccination centre. This has been a real logistical challenge, working with our local GP practices and the NHS team to bring the plan together.
So I was a bit nervous because I'm actually quite scared of injections, but it was nothing really. It went very quick and I'm out and I'm done.
Lots of information from when you start queuing, someone at every point giving you a form. Once you're in, you're not unsure of what to do or where to go at any point. So yeah, really well organised.
It flowed lovely. Second time, it's very busy today, but people are turning over very quickly.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's so well organised. You just go in and it's like a well-oiled machine.
Weren't those wonderful comments? None of this could have happened without volunteers and indeed you, the people of Fleet. We've been proud to help with this amazing work, and I want to personally thank all the Town Council staff who have played their part in the success of the programme. And looking forward, from the start of September, the Harlington will be back with a full entertainment programme. And I know the team just can't wait to welcome you all back again.
So you've heard some great stories about our wonderful volunteers. We also know that many of you have been quietly playing your part by supporting family, friends and neighbours through this pandemic. And to all of you, a heartfelt thank you. This is part of what makes Fleet such a great community.
One of the things that's come clear to us as a council is how much our parks and our open spaces have been valued during lockdown, and what an important part they play in our future health and well-being.
Here in Hart, we're extraordinarily fortunate to have 84 square miles of green spaces on our doorstep. In Fleet, the Town Council looks after the 5 parks that have been such key facilities during the past year: Ansell's Park, Basingbourne Park, Calthorpe Park, Oakley Park and The Views. Most of the parks have active Friends of groups who help us to plan for future needs. As people work more from home and spend more time in their local communities, the use of our parks will continue to increase. Our Facilities and Open Spaces Manager, Ben, will introduce you to some of the key people as we do a whistle-stop tour.
The facilities and green spaces have always been important to Fleet residents, but perhaps now more than ever, people are using them a lot more frequently.
I think the major change that you've seen in the park is new people discovering the park, that we have more than one park in Fleet. And we also have the increase in dog ownership. The other thing that has happened last year that hasn't happened this year is, of course, we had rather nice weather. People were using the park more frequently for social gatherings, picnics on the benches. Post-COVID, what we would really like to do is we are presently fundraising for a trim trail to add to the park, and that's aimed mainly at older teenagers, young adults, because the one thing the park is missing is something for that particular age group.
One of the biggest changes in our 5 parks has been the installation of the new play area here at Calthorpe Park. We are continually monitoring how the play areas are being used, and with this new one, it is particularly important to get feedback. So, let's talk to Sarah.
I think what's been really special, particularly in lockdown, is to have a space that they can come outside and, when they've been allowed to, meet friends. And this is such a fantastic space. It enables them to come and to stretch their legs and to have some fresh air and to just get outside.
Staying in Calthorpe Park, we've also seen an amazing jump in the use of our tennis courts, both during the pandemic and also post-COVID. The upkeep of the courts is something we have to budget for as the use increases. Upkeep and conservation work in our parks is high in our priorities.
Basingbourne Park is a great example.
Like all the other parks in Fleet, we have to balance our conservation work with the increased use that we've seen in the park over the last year. The park's a hub for walking and cycling and is heavily used by the pupils of Courtmore School. And while the school's been closed, we've been able to focus on improving access for the young people and others by improving paths and bridges, installing a new orienteering course, and also by maintaining those areas of the park that are sites of interest for nature conservation, thus protecting community access to wildlife. The play areas and football pitches in our parks are key now that we're moving out of lockdown, and Ansell's Park is yet another example of an area experiencing change.
Ansell's Farm Park has seen increased usage during the pandemic too. We're very lucky here that we now have a wide range of equipment and facilities suitable for various age groups to play on. We work closely with Fleet Town Council to raise money through various grant schemes. Some recent grants have provided bridges to link the park to the woodland area, bulbs and shrubs for planting, as well as information boards and a number of brass plaques along the woodland trail for rubbing. In July this year, we will see an outdoor table tennis table installed for use by all, and we are expecting some local clubs to come and use it too. So a good quality and well-maintained park is of great benefit to the local residents and the surrounding neighbourhood community. All positive things for our physical well-being, mental health, community spirit. So come and enjoy your town's open spaces. And if you'd like to help or volunteer, you can find us on the web and Facebook.
The Views is probably the part that has been a little left behind. The play area needs to be upgraded, and we are very aware of how badly this needs to happen. Of course, the Views is also home to one of Fleet's most used facilities, the skateboard park.
So these facilities are amongst several that need refurbishing or replacing, which raises the big question of funding and how we raise money. Let me start with one example to demonstrate how we're able to make some of the changes that are needed. When Campbell Close retirement apartments were built, the developer provided what is called Section 106 money. This is money provided to offset the impact of additional housing on local amenities. This particular tranche of S106 money was specifically set aside to provide a sensory garden. We have been pondering how to take this project forward, particularly post-pandemic. We know that many councils are putting in place living memorials to commemorate this last year.
2 local charities and 1 Fleet business have already approached us with the idea that's been outlined in the National Trust's Blossom Together project to plant a circle of cherry trees on the Views to provide an area of peace, contemplation and hope. This could be part of the sensory experience we are planning for the Views. We would, however, welcome your views on this also. So this is one example of how the council funds the changes we would like to see. But how do we pay for all the other changes needed in our parks?
As you know, this past year has been one that has stretched the budget of all local authorities to breaking point. However, we can announce that we are able to fund 2 projects this coming year. The first one is the sensory garden that Paul has just mentioned, and the second one involves the cemetery.
The Town Council is a responsible burial authority for our award-winning local cemetery at Richard Close. The cemetery is, however, close to running out of space. We're therefore proposing to convert and landscape an area currently used for grounds maintenance waste to provide additional plots. We are, we think, justifiably proud of our cemetery. It is now a beautiful place, but needs to be extended to meet future needs. As more and more people move into the area, there will be increasing pressure on not only our parks and our cemetery, but on all our amenities and infrastructure. As we welcome new residents to Fleet, we know that we need to provide for their needs.
So let's look at some of the other changes that increased housing development has brought to Fleet.
With well-documented housing targets in the southeast of England, Fleet has changed exponentially. An increasing number of new estates have sprung up around the outskirts to meet the government's targets over recent years. Heartland Village is the newest and biggest planned development in the area and will provide an additional 1,500 dwellings when complete.
Heartland Village is a multi-phase development. So that means that we will be submitting reserved matters applications for all of the future phases. In total, there'll be around about 10 phases, with each one having its own special character. We're really keen to ensure that each phase is built to the highest exacting standards. But I think really what's going to make Heartland Village is also its connection to the woodlands and the fact that it has its own 70-acre country park, which is an amazing facility for both residents and the wider public. And I think for me, the future actually is going to be the most important thing for Heartland Village. The community hub is something which we're really keen to be launching in May of this year. What we're producing is a facility for a number of colleges that are local to the area, but we'll use it for their full-time construction students to learn certain skills such as plumbing and carpentry. They'll also get to come onto site and visit the site regularly to get practical on-site experience.
Now, halfway through its latest development phase, Edenbrook has become another popular estate in the Fleet area. We asked some residents what attracted them to this new development.
So many areas to choose from in Fleet. The reason why we chose to live in Edenbrook is because we wanted to raise a family, and it gave us a real sense of community living here.
Near the country park, it's good for the dogs, and the cycling's good just off of Edenbrook.
In addition to these new developments, we've also seen lots more changes, particularly those brought about by permitted development, which allows building work to be carried out without planning permission. Everyone is aware of the number of office conversions that have taken place over the last year. Ansell's Business Park has had many conversions. The area of Fleet Road between Kings Road and Church Road has seen the same. Sadly, many of these conversions are for one-bedroomed apartments that do not even meet the government's minimum requirements for space. But because these conversions were approved under these permitted development rights, there's been little that the Town Council can do to stop them. Hart District Council, as the local planning authority, has to consult the Town Council on all planning applications within our area, and you can be assured that we have raised the strongest objections and have challenged our local MP to express our concern as to the impact of permitted development brings, particularly as these rights do not require them to provide any money towards roads, infrastructure or leisure facilities. You've heard a lot about the benefits of developing on brownfield sites before any greenfield sites are used. In principle, this is absolutely applaudable. Hart District Council is obliged to keep a register of all the brownfield sites within the district. In the case of Fleet, nearly every single site on the list has already been developed, amounting to well over 300 new flats and apartments. Unless new brownfield sites come forward in our area, there is very little space for any additional building. If you want to check out the brownfield site list, it's on Hart's website. Sadly again, these brownfield developments bring little if any funding for local infrastructure. However, we welcome all these new residents, and our town centre businesses are responding.
As you've just heard, development is changing Fleet. And if there is one thing that is also clear, our high street is changing before our very eyes. We have just been talking about the new housing development, but we're also seeing more and more residential accommodation being planned right in the heart of our high street. Just for example, properties in Fleet Road, Victoria Road and Branksome Road are being turned into flats. That's not the only change. One of our banks, HSBC, will close on the 12th of June, and it is likely that other high street banks will follow suit as many of us move to online banking. The type of retail we've been used to is being replaced by different experiences, like the climbing wall in the Hart Shopping Centre, and less traditional businesses appearing on our high street. The good thing to note is that our local businesses and retailers are responding by showing amazing flexibility. Some have reacted by completely changing their business model, others bravely opening new shops and restaurants during the pandemic, and a few adding completely new product lines to their existing offering. So change is happening in our high street, and we're certainly feeling it. During the last year, pedestrianisation split the town. Many businesses and residents supported the trial, but other businesses and local residents were against it. Whatever your thoughts, it did give us a taste of change and a realisation that our town centre will not stay the same. And we've seen the evidence, not only in Fleet, but across the whole country. Between January and November 2020, over 4,500 stores closed in towns and city centres around the UK. Fleet hasn't escaped. We've got an opportunity now to come together, to develop a new vision for our high street, centred round you, the people of Fleet, and your needs, a local approach. We must ensure that our high street has a future beyond the pandemic. So let's talk to Tyler Harman, Tyler is not only a local retailer, but chair of the Fleet Business Improvement District, or Fleet BID.
Sue mentioned one recent change, which was a temporary pedestrianisation. The scheme itself was controversial, however the BID used the space to put several COVID-secure events on. They were really successful, and we can see that the community will always support such things. BID sees future in working with the Town Council as we both share passion for the town. COVID has localised the residents both in work and social aspects, and this presents great opportunity for the High Street itself. High streets are becoming very based around socialising and leisure as well as shopping. We're also very lucky to have the Harlington in the town, which creates great things for people to do and see. Visit your local spaces and see what it has to offer. Moving forward, there's lots of talk of regeneration, and I am very keen to see what emerges for the town's future.
Tyler mentioned regeneration. One of the biggest changes to our town is likely to come as a result of Hart District Council's plans to regenerate the Civic Quarter. That's the area around Gurkha Square, the council offices and the Harlington. You may have seen the press release that Hart put out in March this year, which indicates that there is not likely to be a lot of activity on the regeneration front for the rest of this year. But these plans will have major long-term impact on our town. Many of you will know that Fleet Town Council operate and manage the Harlington in the Civic Quarter, and Hart District Council own the building and the land on which it stands, so that's the starting position. As you know, we've been collecting money from you as part of the precept to refurbish or rebuild the Harlington for the past 5 years. So why hasn't that money been spent? The issue is that we cannot justify spending your money on a building which, in the worst case, we cannot yet guarantee will be part of Hart's future plans. We are obviously looking forward very much to hearing more details from Hart as to what the options might be. Once these options have been announced, we have been promised that there will be a full consultation, and the future of the Harlington and the rest of the Civic Quarter will become much clearer. In the meantime, please be assured that the Harlington money is ring-fenced and will remain so. As with the future consultation on the Civic Quarter plans, we feel strongly that it is vitally important to ask all residents their views about the future of our town and the changes they want to see, especially the younger families moving into the area.
We've heard from our residents, and we know we should represent their views on the changes they want to see as we plan the future of our town.
In the coming year, the Town Council will focus on COVID recovery, maintaining and conserving our parks, extending our cemetery, and creating the Century Garden on the Views to include a living memoriam. We will continue to push for a consultation on the Civic Quarter and to fight for the future of the Harlington. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted so many things: our children's education, our ability to meet our friends and family. There have been losses that will always be felt, but within that are opportunities to rethink our town, accept the short-term changes that the virus has brought, acknowledge the long-term changes, and celebrate the countless examples of how we've come together as a community. I hope you found this presentation useful. I'm hoping that by using this new approach, we'll be reaching more people than we have in previous years. Your chance to give us live feedback will be by a virtual meeting, the details of which will be published on our website and on social media.
Fleet has always been and will continue to be a strong community. 2020 has certainly proved that. Yes, there will be more changes ahead, and as a town council we want to try and engage with you as fully as we can as future decisions are made. All town councillors are up for election in May 2022, just over a year from now. So if you want to help our community move forward, do think about putting your names forward as councillors. Thank you for watching.